If you're in the market for a Tesla and a Rivian, good news. Prices keep dropping. If you already own one, maybe not good news because that hurts your residual value of your vehicle. Welcome back to the channel. Every Sunday morning, I am covering topics throughout the week that I stumble upon that I want to talk about as an EV Sunday morning show. Simple as that. We'll talk about some of the most exciting and maybe least exciting topics about electric vehicles depending on your stance. And you can just see how many articles we have to sift through today regarding electric vehicles. And just really, all these articles are new as in the past week. So make sure you're subscribed if you like EV auto updates. I could do individual news updates, but I'm not an EV only channel. So I figured I would do a Sunday morning special for you guys to sink your teeth into, and we can have a good discussion in the comment section below, as well as my Discord. If you guys are Discord nerds out there, if I remember, I'll put the link down below and you can enter into the Discord channel to talk about topics that are relevant on the channel and in the auto industry. So let's get into the first thing. We know EV demand is cooling. There's no doubt about it here in the United States. Well, the economy is probably going to be cooling everywhere. I just even read Harley Davidson's expecting lower revenue for 2024 compared to 2023. So it's not just cars, it's affecting other industries as well. But Tesla is temporarily slashing prices for the Model Y. I think that's a good marketing move. If you're going to lower prices, make it seem like, your opportunity, your window is missing. We all get those spam letters or even emails, right? You only have 10 days to redeem this sort of discount, and Tesla's kind of using that tactic here. So it's not a big price drop, but apparently there have been some price drops in Germany fairly recently. If we look at what's being dropped, it's the Model Y rear-wheel drive and long range by $1,000 each to $42,990 for the rear-wheel drive and $47,990 for the long range. Now, the performance model does not get any discounts, but if you can see here, it's about a 2% discount on those models. Now, they're saying you have until February 29th to redeem these lower discounted prices. But we know Tesla, their prices are always changing. So if you miss out on this $1,000, price drop, don't worry. It's probably going to keep dropping this year, but we'll see. I mean, this year is really an unknown for most automakers, and even more so for EV automakers with the drop in demand. And because of the drop in demand, Tesla may be appearing to drop employees, not just dropping prices, but drop employees. According to a new report from Bloomberg, we're over at Electric now, Tesla has asked all managers to identify critical members of their teams, essential members, right? Remember during the lockdowns and everything, only a critical or essential workers could work. And that was open to interpretation, of course, right? So Tesla is asking, it's probably coming from Musk, I would assume. I don't know. But he's saying, or they saying, U.S. managers had to make the binary assessment of their deputies' roles in recent days, according to the people familiar with the matter who asked not to be identified because the information is private. Tesla sent out the single line query for each job after canceling some employees' biannual performance reviews, some of the people said. The automaker grew its headcount by 29,000 in 2022, but it grew just 12,000 in 2023. We're going to keep moving. Rivian also dropping prices of their R1T and R1S. I feel like the R1S just came out fairly recently. Price cuts by $3,100 for the R1T pickup for the entry level and the R1S crossover, which qualify for the half tax credit, the $3,750 federal tax incentive. So this additional $3,100 essentially gives these vehicles in essence the full tax credit, if you want to look at it that way. These base models have 270 miles of range, and you have an additional battery option with 315 miles of range. Those can be had at the prices of the old entry level prices, it looks like. So dual motor R1T, 71.7 with shipping. R1S starts at 76.7. And remember, with all EVs, and this is my recommendation for all EVs because they're going to depreciate faster than any other type of car out there because the technology is changing so fast. But that's just a general rule. Anyways, on a lease, regardless of where the EV is built, where their batteries, they can come straight from China, and they could qualify for the $7,500 lease tax credit, which we're going to speak about China here in a little bit. So anyways, price drops for the two biggest EV automakers by name, maybe recognition here in the United States, Tesla and Rivian. All right, automotive news. Going back to automotive news, EV charging network run by 7 major automakers, and they reveal a CEO. This is called Ionna. Let me know how you would say it. I probably have to hear it first, but they have a little intro video here. Okay, this is cool. So this is where I can talk about. So they want to have an EV charging network by 2030 with 30,000 chargers. And this is a joint venture from all of these automakers down below. 7 automakers, 1 mission. They want a great experience for your chargers. It's not just going to be like a Tesla supercharging network in the back of a parking lot at a Target or something. That's my local situation. No, they want to have a restaurant. They want to have pop-up stores. They want to have it be very, very convenient. They're going to have NACS connectivity, which is the new standard. That it's the Tesla standard, but that's a new standard everyone is adopting here in North America going forward. But they will also have CCS charging there as well. So look for this to be the best experience in theory. They also say that they have connectivity. If you have these automakers, your car should start charging and be billed automatically, but you can also still work it through the app system too. This is exciting stuff. We're one step closer to having a better EV charging network, but honestly, it probably won't be really solid until after 2030. Now, keep in mind, most automakers are adopting NACS starting in 2025. So you'll have access to Tesla superchargers, but so will everyone else at that point. How, like, if there are lines right now for Tesla superchargers, depending on where you live, right? What's it going to be like when every EV has access to Tesla's network? That's why we need something like this, Ionna, to come from these automakers, a coordinated effort to have a better charging experience, a more reliable and a practical. Right now, EVs for long trips, unless you have a Tesla, they're just not as practical due to the poor charging experiences that you're going to have more than likely unless you have a Tesla. So this is great news. It's coming online, and it's only a matter of time before I'll test it out and charge at one of these stations. So while prices are dropping here, demand is dropping here in North America, China knows that they have an uphill battle. And they want to localize in overseas markets to seem as less of a threat because, check this out, this has been going on for a while. A sense of crisis has spread in Europe and in the US over the dominance of Chinese EVs in the global market. Now, not a big threat here in the United States, not even close. And the reason is the United States has had a 25% or more import tax on Chinese vehicles. All right, so they just don't have that competitive edge here right off the bat. Now, if they're built in North America instead of China, they circumvent, they get around that 25% import tax. All right. Now, the problem is in Europe where they brought in super low price being built in China. They come in, undercut the prices of European built cars, and European manufacturers can't compete on that level. So China's overall automobile exports have rapidly increased the past year or two, actually beat out Japan in 2023 as the number one exporter for automobiles. So the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative continues to assess the threat posed by Chinese EVs to the U.S., while the European Union launched an investigation into Chinese EVs last year. I've covered this multiple times, but the reason is they're suspecting that subsidies from Beijing were keeping prices down and distorting competition in the European market. That's absolutely 100% happening. I have no doubts in my mind that there's unfair practices going on to benefit Chinese EV companies. Even Tesla is seeing some of that unfair prices going on to support BYD and other Chinese EV automakers, and while Tesla is not getting the same sort of incentives, handouts from the Chinese government. So interesting times going on, but really what is interesting about this article is that China wants to localize EV production and supply chains for the markets they're selling the EVs in. And I think this is a great thing. It's a beautiful thing because now we don't have to worry about super low labor costs and super low material costs destroying essentially the economies of Europe and North America. They can fight toe to toe in their respective areas, avoid any sort of tariffs or punishments the governments in those areas would put on EVs built in China if they're built locally. Don't have to worry about that. They're supporting the local economy by sourcing locally, and I think this is a good thing, right? Let me know down below what you think. Competition's always good. Toyota bringing battery electric vehicle production to Kentucky. So in 2025, three-row SUV battery electrics coming online in Kentucky. It won't be on their new platform. It's not going to be a software-defined vehicle. Think of it as a larger BZ4X. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with better software. It's not going to be software defined like a Tesla or the 2026 next gen BEV platform from Toyota and Lexus. But they've already made some improvements to the BZ4X's software just a year later for better charging purposes. Charges faster and more often at a fast rate, as well as better software for telling you what the state of your charge is, all that good stuff. They're expecting to sell a lot of these three-row EVs. And that's also one of the reasons I believe that the Highlander is going to be discontinued for our market, because we have the Grand Highlander now, we have the Sienna, we have the Sequoia, and we have this three-row EV coming up. That's not what this article is talking about. That's just getting you up to speed. This $1.3 billion investment reinforces commitment to stable employment and future production. So we knew recently that Toyota would be assembling the battery, not only the battery electric vehicle there, but also the battery packs for these vehicles instead of having the battery packs pre-assembled somewhere else. And this, in theory, allows them to reduce shipping costs and other things. So it's a cheaper thing, but also gives them the flexibility of modifying the battery structure and maybe battery density there on site at will, and whenever they want to, they can modify that battery and improve upon that battery instead of outsourcing the packing of the battery to the North Carolina battery plant, for example. That is going to be going on at pretty much every Toyota plant where they build EVs. They are going to be assembling the battery packs themselves there. Obviously not the individual modules. That will be at North Carolina or by LG, who Toyota has partnered up with to supply pouch-style batteries for EVs in the near future. So exciting stuff there. Not so exciting if you own a Fisker. There's a family at my school that owns one of these vehicles. It's eye-catching. I think it's a great design. This is not, I'll put a picture of what it actually looks like, but it's had a lot of issues. Which is surprising for me. It's built at the Magna Steyr plant in Austria, and they build the Supra as well as the Z4, and those are excellently built vehicles, super high build quality on the Supra and the Z4. I think the issues is, it's a brand new vehicle. Everything on it is new from the ground up. They're going to have teething issues, but I think they're not doing that well financially. So will they be able to outlive these issues that are going on? So there are brake loss of power, lots of loss of brake. The hoods have been flying up on certain individual models, people getting locked in and locked out of their cars. So just nightmare situation. Now, I don't know how rampant it is. So it's just unfortunate when you spend that much money for a car, you expect it to work 100%, right? When you're buying any new vehicle, you expect it to work 100%. And there's just been a ton of quality issues with this vehicle. I'm not going to say it's build quality issues. I firmly believe Magna Steyr builds really well vehicles. I think it's where they're sourcing their parts, and maybe the failure rate of those parts are quite high. But when you also have loss of power and other things like that, as well as key fob glitches, that's all software, or not all software. It can be heavily software influenced. And we know with EVs, software, if you can't get the software right, it's not worth spending any money on. Look at what's happening to the Blazer EV on stop sale due to buggy software. General Motors and Chevy should never have launched that vehicle. It's only a stain on their reputation when you launch a broken product. Is this having the same sort of issues as the Blazer EV? I'm sure your mileage will vary, but you gotta have the software down if you want to have a solid launch. And otherwise Tesla, Rivian, these other automakers with better software will eat your lunch. So we talked about Lexus. So we talked about Lexus and Toyota and their batteries being assembled at the manufacturer assembling plant where they actually built the cars, putting those battery packs together there. And a lot of Toyota's battery packs have Panasonic working with them. In North Carolina, it's interesting. To my knowledge, it's not a joint venture on paper, but when I've talked to Toyota employees, it sounds like it is Prime Planet Energy and Solutions. Panasonic is integral to Toyota's success as a hybrid automaker as well as an EV automaker. And Toyota uses even CATL batteries for some of their BZ4Xs, right? But Panasonic is the company they would prefer to work with. The problem with Panasonic, their market share has plummeted. They're less than 10%, I think, of the total addressable market in the world where, CATL and BYD keep soaring forward. But Panasonic has just inked a deal to secure 10,000 tons of graphite for North American battery cells. So Panasonic has a new plant coming online in DeSoto, Kansas in 2025, $4 billion factory. But you need graphite. The problem with graphite is that we don't have a lot of it. I'm not saying that we actually have a lot, especially in Canada here in North America, but we haven't been mining it, extracting it, and refining it. In fact, China has a chokehold on the EV battery grade graphite, and they pick and choose who they want to sell it to and how much they want to sell it for. So in order to get around that, we need to source it locally. And it looks like Panasonic is doing that for their North American battery sales. And it is actually synthetic graphite made by Novonix. And this will be happening in 2025 in Tennessee. This happens at the same time their battery plant comes online in DeSoto, Kansas, as well as their joint venture battery plant with Toyota batteries in North Carolina. And this company is an Australian battery material supplier. Now, Australia has tons of materials, right? Tons and tons of materials for just about everything. Their vast, mostly empty landscape, right? And the outback. So they also supply a lot of lithium and other battery grade materials too down there in Australia. But this Australian company, this mining company, materials company, is going to supply 10,000 tons of synthetic graphite. This material will be a 4-year deal beginning in 2025. And this comes at a great time because every single year going forward, materials have to be sourced from North America or free trade agreement countries in order for these vehicles to qualify for the EV tax credit. So this is ensuring Panasonic's battery materials to have the right composition to avoid being not counted in the EV tax credit. So this is great news for them. LG Chem, which has passed Panasonic as the number 3 battery supplier in the world, and they've done it by quite a margin at this point. They're separating themselves from Panasonic. But LG Chem signs a $19 billion deal, GM to supply battery materials. Now, GM and LG have their Ultium batteries. They've been working together for years, and this is just that next step. So almost $19 billion for LG Chem, not to be confused with LG Energy and Solutions, which is technically the battery manufacturer. But LG Chem is, you could say, the material supplier for LG Energy and Solutions. And so this is 500,000 tons of cathode materials, enough to manufacture batteries for 5 million EVs for the U.S. car maker through 2035. And this will be coming out of a Tennessee factory as well. So that is kind of the hotbed for EVs right now. Kentucky, Tennessee, North Carolina, even Georgia. We'll talk about Georgia here in a little bit with Hyundai. Let's just get right into it. Hyundai's EV factory in Georgia will open ahead of target, ahead of schedule. This is great. So 3 months of this gigafactory, complex, because they build the batteries there, they build the EVs there 3 months ahead of schedule, and this will allow them to qualify for the federal tax credit sooner. All right, you have to keep in mind, other than the GV70, I don't know if any other EV of theirs is built here in North America, so They don't qualify for the EV tax credit if you purchase. They do if you lease. And that's, again, ensure that you get that $7,500 by leasing regardless of where it's made. And that might even be the loophole case as we go forward. If you plan on owning the vehicle or financing it, now you will be able to qualify for the EV tax credit with Hyundai's here pretty soon. So it'll be online as soon as October 2024. We're pulling ahead because everyone knows how important it is, because so far we don't qualify for the EV tax credits. Metaplant is a $7.6 billion investment for Hyundai. The EV plant will assemble 6 models across 3 brands and an adjacent factory, the result of the joint venture with LG Energy Solution, and will build the batteries next door, right? And he's not saying which model to come first. Automotive News is saying Ioniq 7 is 100% going to be coming out of there in 2025. But I would imagine Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, in theory, could all be built there. It's hard to say. They could build multiple Genesis models there, multiple Kia models. We know that the EV9 will need to be built in North America as well. But I don't remember if it's going to be this Metaplant or not. Hyundai also has another battery joint venture with another South Korean manufacturer of batteries, SK On, to build a $5 billion plant in Bartow County, Georgia, with an annual capacity of 35 gigawatt hours. And that is supposed to open just about a year later in the second half of 2025. And supply the Alabama factory and Kia's plant in West Point, Georgia. So they'll be building not only 7 EVs at Metaplant, but more EVs in the Alabama plant in Alabama. So Alabama, Georgia, and this new Georgia plant. So there are 3 plants that'll be building EVs. It's pretty exciting. Oh, my camera went down. Pretty exciting for Hyundai. They have the best EVs, in my opinion, out on the market for the masses, outside of Tesla. Super fast charging, great EV software, great interior. Exterior is subjective, but I really like the interiors on the Ioniq vehicles. I just drove the GV60 recently. Amazing car. Didn't want to get rid of it. It's really, really nice. Rides great. Looks pretty cool. And I don't know. It's so close to what the Ioniq 5 is that I'd probably just save a couple bucks and get Ioniq 5, but you can't get that like 3.8 seconds 0 to 60 that I was getting it. It's really, really quick. Speaking of Hyundai, Ioniq T10 is a possible battery electric small pickup that could be coming out of one of those plants, right? Either in Georgia or what was the other one, Alabama. We need more small pickup trucks. We're supposed to be getting a refresh on the Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz needs a hybrid, in my opinion, a very efficient one to keep up with the Maverick. The Maverick still, to me, is a better looking vehicle. And it's super efficient. 40 miles per gallon I was seeing when I tested it. It was a really, really charming little pickup truck. And that's getting a refresh soon as well, the Maverick with a bigger screen and whatnot. So Santa Cruz is getting a refresh soon as well, but they're potentially going for maybe an electrified version of the Santa Cruz in some shape or form. Maybe on the eGMP platform, so you have a rear-wheel drive bias, which is great. And if we can have 800 volt charging, all that good stuff, Hyundai could be beating Tesla to the market with a smaller pickup truck, because the Cybertruck is going to be way more expensive than this in theory, as well as just a bigger, heavier truck. This is probably going to be like the Santa Cruz, which a lot of people would be very, very excited to have a city electric pickup truck with affordable prices that qualify for the EV tax credit. So T10 could be that vehicle, and I look forward to it. Ford's losing a lot of money. We know this. General Motors is losing a lot of money on their EV divisions, almost $5 billion. Okay, and that's for all of 2023. It's not good news. And I can't source it, but I read an article recently that Ford is not going to really invest into new EVs until it is profitable for them. So they'll keep F-150 Lightning. They'll keep their Mustang Mach-E, keep going, keep improving them. But it sounds like they are not going to really dump a lot of money into EVs until they find it financially feasible, which makes sense. Don't bleed yourself for a market that's not ready for it yet. You can see Farley said Ford could delay some of its upcoming EVs as it delays $12 billion in investment, but declined to provide specifics. And they're also reassessing the vertical integration of its battery supply chain. Ford no longer expects to achieve 8% EV margins by 2026. By the way, that's where Tesla is right now. Tesla's around 8% EV margins, but they keep dropping the prices. So in theory, that keeps going down. The company said it doesn't expect to make money on EVs until its second generation products launch in 2026. So we're just maybe 2 years away for them to finally make money on EVs. So just don't expect anything new from Ford as an EV seemingly until 2026. And that's what, I mean, that's exciting. That's when Toyota comes out with their next gen platform. We're just going to see such a huge leap from 2022, 2023. I feel like the technology for EVs has been pretty stagnant. We're going to see a big jump when all these automakers are going software defined, over the air updates, better charging, next gen batteries, gigacasting. Everyone's going to be on Tesla's level. Well, at least Tesla's level as of 2022, 2023, which is great. Better competition, more viable EVs, and the EV charging infrastructure is going to be so much better 2026 and beyond as well, with Ionna coming online and everyone having access to the Tesla supercharging network. So Ford just not doing that great. I'll talk about this real quick. Ford, least trusted brand from the dealers. Toyota, the most trusted brand from the dealers. Isn't that insane? Check out these most trusted brands. I know it doesn't really have anything to do with EVs, but it does. Yes and no, right? Toyota, Lexus, Subaru, Honda. The first 4 automakers on the list, well, you just say these two are one and the same, Toyota and Lexus, and even Subaru is a little bit of Toyota too, right? Because they're, 20% owned by Toyota. Mazda is 5% owned by Toyota. But check this out. The top 3 are essentially Toyota companies that have the strongest relationships with their dealers by a large margin. Honda comes in at number 4, another Japanese automaker. Then Porsche comes in at number 5 as the most trusted brands from the dealer perspective. The least trusted brands from the dealer perspective, coming up at number 5, Infiniti, and parent company Nissan is number 2. I just talked recently, Nissan, they're cutting production due to lack of demand, and the dealers are just, they don't know what to do. They don't have enough incentives to drive their products. Their products aren't good enough to compete, and interest levels are really high. Interest rates are high, and their average customer is your paycheck to paycheck person, and they can't afford a new car right now. So that's really hurting Infiniti and Nissan. Their profit margins are at a 2-decade low, and I might address that in a different video. But look at the disconnect that they have with their dealer body as well. The dealers just don't trust them. The dealers don't trust Ford. They don't trust Lincoln, right? So Lincoln and Ford, same thing. Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, these are the brands that love the cars that they sell. These are the brands that don't like the cars they sell. Simple as that. And as a result, Ford wants to have more dealer engagement, and then they go back on that, and they skipped their usual Q&A with dealers after the North American Dealer Association show. So they didn't take any questions. They know that there's turmoil going on between the dealer bodies and parent company or OEM company, Ford. So it's a mess out there. If you're a Ford dealer, it's a mess out there. If you're Ford, you're bleeding money on EVs. And I'm a little concerned about them. I'm a little concerned about Nissan as well, and maybe even Dodge, Chrysler too. But that's Stellantis, it's different. But yeah, definitely concerned for those companies. Am I concerned for Tesla? No. Am I concerned for Rivian? No. Am I concerned for the shareholders? Maybe. Yeah, possibly. I think their shares, Tesla shares, I think they talk about it. Shares are down 22%. I don't know if I have it in here, but Tesla's shares are down about 2% on the year. Oh, here it is, 22% on the year starting January. And yeah, I don't expect their shares to go up unless they unveil a groundbreaking product. Yeah, that's essentially the only thing I think is really going to help their case at this point to increase their revenue, their profits, and their market shares. So I got to cut it down there. Thank you guys for watching. Come back next week for my EV automaker update, EV industry auto news update, whatever you want to call it. If you made it this far, appreciate you. Smash the like button if you haven't. And I'll catch you next week for more EV news. I'll have another 10 to 15, 20 articles lined up for us to tackle and discuss down in the comments and in my Discord, which you can find the link down below. Thanks, guys. Catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Peace.